Pardon our pixie dust and hang on to those magic bands and Mickey ears. But this just in, here's a Mousecapades Podcast breaking news story.
Not in front of the kids.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, this is Lee Suggs. I've been a Mousecapades Podcast listener for about a year, and Nick and Vicky asked me to do some pop-ups from Disneyland. I'm going to attend grad night as a chaperone in a few weeks, and I will also visit with my family in July. To tell you a little bit about myself, I've been married for 29 years, almost. I have 2 children, and they are adults. My son is in the Marine Corps, and my daughter is in college. I'm a high school teacher. I teach at a high school in Tuolumne, California. It's called Somerville High School, and it is small. It has about 600 students. I am a U.S. history teacher, an AP U.S. history teacher. I do the yearbook, and so that's a class as well. And I coach football for the JV team. I'm the head coach. And I also am the Christian club advisor. So I do a lot of things. It's a small high school, so I have a lot of responsibilities. I do use Disney in the classroom. As a U.S. history teacher, there's a lot of ways to do that. I teach an animation unit around the time of Mickey's birthday. And we start off with early animation, going all the way to Steamboat Willie. And then we watch that. And it's to make a point about the technology changing in the 1920s and how sound came in and all those types of things. I also use it for Pocahontas, for Native Americans earlier than that. And I also used it recently with women's rights. We watched Snow White and Mulan, and obviously a 60-year difference between the movies and considerable difference in how women are portrayed. Disney wants to be popular. They want to make money. And the ideas about women have completely changed over the last 60 years, which is a good thing. And it is reflected in the movies, and we talk about how women are portrayed completely differently in Snow White and in Mulan, and how that has changed because of the society changing. I was very interested in Disney from about 1994 into the early 2000s. My kids were young, and we were going to Disneyland a lot. I worked for a website called Laughing Place, and that was a time period where I was very much interested in Disney. My interest kind of waned over the years. I still use it in the classroom, and I did go to Disneyland about once a year usually, but not always. When I discovered the Mousecapades Podcast, I started to become much more interested in Disney again, and I was interested in Disney World, which I had not paid much attention to. I'd been there a couple times, once when I was very young, well, not very young, but I was about 12, in the 70s, and I also went there in 2000. So, but I haven't been there other than that. Didn't have much interest in Disney World, and Mousecapades obviously caused me to be interested in that. And in general, to be more interested in Disney again. So, and that definitely makes my life happier. So I appreciate them doing that. And I highly recommend the podcast, and also their service to go to Disney World. They have a lot of knowledge about that. And when I go to Disney World, which I do want to do now simply, I would certainly use them for that. I am going to go to grad night. I went to grad night the first time in 1992, and we have, as a school, gone for about 50 years, a little bit more than that. 92, grad night was very formal. It was in Disneyland. There was no California Adventure, and it was only a party. It was only at night, 11 o'clock to about 6 o'clock in the morning. Kids had to dress very formally. They had to wear ties, the boys, and the girls had to wear dresses. And there were very little problems, I think probably because they were dressed up. And they did that for several years, and then they started to move towards more casual attire, and they started to allow the kids to come into the parks. And when they built DCA, they started having a hopper pass where you go back and forth to the parks. Eventually, they moved grad night to DCA, and that's been that way for about 10 years. And it was still the hopper thing, and then DCA. They started to run into problems, I think, because so many kids were in the park all day. There could be as many as 20,000 kids at the grad night. And they have now gone to a tier system starting this year. And that means that schools are randomly assigned to different tiers, which means that they don't get to go into the parks the same way. The first tier is the same as it has been, where you get to bounce between the parks all day, and then you go to grad night at California Adventure when it gets to be that time, about 11. I think they actually started at 10. And that's what we're in this year. But then the second tier only is California Adventure during the day, and you go to grad night there at night. And then the last tier is only grad night at California Adventure. This isn't popular, and many schools have opted out. I think maybe that's what they were trying to do. I'm not sure, but that's what's happening. And Universal Studios has picked up on this, and they have expanded their grad night quite a bit. If we had gotten into a lower tier, we probably would have gone to Universal Studios, which to me would be a tragedy since we've gone to Disneyland for so long for grad night. But that's what would have probably happened. This is what Disney is doing. I don't know that it's a good idea, but we'll see. They did eliminate grad nights at Disney World many years ago, 10 years ago probably. And it definitely seems to be a trend that maybe this is something that they are not always going to have at Disneyland. That's all I had for now. I do want Nick to not tease Vicki so much about being from Georgia, because she's actually from St. Louis. But I understand that people get confused about that. I lived in Tennessee for 5 years, in junior high school and early high school, first 2 years of high school. And when I came back, I had a little bit of an accent, something like, I talked a little bit like this, and because I was from Tennessee. And I picked up on that when I was in Tennessee, and people, give me a hard time about it because they said I was from Tennessee, but I actually was mostly from California. I was born in Florida, but I was mostly from California. So, Nick, don't give Vicki such a hard time. She is from St. Louis, but it is kind of funny when you give her a hard time, so you can do that sometimes. All right, that's all I had for today. Just want to let you guys know who I was, and we'll talk to you later.